Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Novella. Today is Sunday, that means coffee klatch. Coffee klatch is a Dutch-Belgian word that just means that I invite you over for a coffee and a cookie and we talk about all the things in life, mostly about books, but there's a little bit too much going on to only talk about books, I believe, especially in the Middle East. I can give you two books that are really helping you to understand how the people in that area, in the area of Palestine and Israel feel. First is Minor Detail. Minor Detail is by Adania Shibli. Minor Detail is about a Bedouin woman who was raped and or sexually attacked, and by an Israeli psychopath, and there's a Palestinian detective, pseudo-detective, who is trying to investigate her murder. Then I also would highly recommend, and that's far more recent, a book that I've read 3 months ago, and that's Enter Ghost by Isabella Hammad. It is a brilliant book. It shows you very well the tensions between Palestine and Israel and how it is so volatile and so inflammable. Really, read that book. It's really good. It's about a woman, a Palestinian woman who lives in London, and she's in last half of her 30s. She's an actress. She works for TV mostly, but she's not the kind of person that you know her name. You know, you recognize the face, but you don't really know who it is. So she has work and she can live from it, but she is not famous. And after a bad breakup, she decides to live with her sister for a couple of months, who lives in Palestine and in the West Bank. And once she arrives there, she is asked by a director to play in a play by Shakespeare, hence Enter Ghost. And while they are rehearsing and performing, you can really feel what the life is like in Palestine under the with the Israeli government, and it's not simple. Now, there are no sides here to take in this whole mess. You can only call it a mess, and so many people are dying for the lack of will of the politicians for many decades to come to a conclusion. You can only call it that. It's the lack of will, because they are afraid to lose votes. Now people are losing their lives. That's all you can call it. And I'm not happy with the fact that the Israeli government is putting videos before hours as a sort of it's not a commercial, but still it's a message, and I don't like that. I would like to have that erased from my channel. You can't, and because I don't think that there are only victims here, and it's not the Israeli people, it's the Israeli people and the Palestinian people. They are not politics, they are human beings. And what's happening now, turning off water and electricity, is hurting the children way more than Hamas. So don't do those stuff. It's useless. There are only losers here. So I would hope that finally the politicians have the heart and the intelligence to find a real solution. So yeah, let's talk about the things I've read this week. I've read a couple of things, mostly short stuff. I've read Impossible by Erri de Luca. I've read The Country Will Bring Us No Peace by Mattieu Simard. I've read Kick the Latch by Kathryn Scanlan. And I'm currently reading A Helping Hand by Celia Dale. And I'm buddy reading The Magic Mountain by Thomas Mann with Aaron Facer. This is my version. Let's start with this one. I'm glad that I'm reading it in Dutch and not that I've chosen for the Dutch version and not the English version, because there's quite a lot of text between the main character and his love interest, Claudia, and yeah, those texts are in French, and in the English version, the French texts are also translated in the text and not in the back. Now, I think that is painful and sad, because there's so much nuance in the French language. There's a big difference between when you address someone with tu et vous, and with the first name, and that's very, very important here in the French text. I think he did it just to show how courageous or how courteous he was. So he is, of course, Hans Castorp. Castorp is a young man, a young engineer. I think he's 21. And he decides to visit his cousin, who is in a sanatorium in Davos in Switzerland. And he has, his nephew Joachim has tuberculosis. Now, Hans Castorp has gone up there and he decided to stay there for 3 weeks. But of course, he catches TB too. And he meets everybody there. A lot of people, Settembrini, Nafta, Claudia, the doctor, other people. So it's really interesting, and they have really, really interesting conversations. And it's about life, and it's about death and sickness and intelligence and empathy and all sorts of stuff. Now, I really love Thomas Mann. It's an author for me. Don't know why, because a lot of people find it very dense and very difficult to read. For me, I don't have that problem. I just see immediately what he means. Now, this book is also written in 2 different time periods. So he started writing The Magic Mountain. Thomas Mann started writing it before the First World War, and then finished it in 1921, I believe. And around chapter 6, you really can feel the shift in tone of voice. So it becomes more serious, more cerebral after the chapter 6. Now, you have to feel. Oh, you have to read it to explain it, because Thomas Mann always writes with a very ironic undertone, and like almost tongue-in-cheek, but he tells so much, and this book packs a punch. There's so much in there. And when I first started reading and he said, oh, he's going to Davos, it has become, since then, Davos is the place. It's a small place, but it has become the most important place in the world, because every year all the most rich and famous people go there to decide how to rule the world. And I find that shocking, because this book is really about, how you, which place you take in the world. So it's I find it's my first read, and I'm 65% in. I have a long way to go. It's almost 1,000 pages, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant, and the French he uses is so beautiful. I read it out loud, and it's marvelous. Now, I really love this one. Micah and I decided to put it on the list for Classics and Company because for next year, and I kindly asked the best Thomas Mann connoisseur to be our VIP host, and she said yes, and she is Britta Bowler. So excited. She's like booktube royalty. So yeah, she is really happy to do it because she can't do it with her own channel, because on her channel she only talks about female writers, female authors. So, but she was willing to help us and to join us next year for the reading of Thomas Mann, The Magic Mountain. So, so happy. Then, I am currently reading A Helping Hand by Celia Dale. Celia Dale, I didn't know about her, but I just love the cover, so I bought it, and I'm really liking it. This was first published a long time ago, in 1966, and it is a sort of horror, but not like blood gushing everywhere. It's about a couple that takes in people to take care of them and then to make sure that their life is not, let's say, doesn't last too long. They show them the exit to heaven, or the entry to heaven very quickly. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, so I will talk about this next time. Then yesterday I read Kick the Latch by Kathryn Scanlan. Ooh, I love this one. Oh, I love this one. And it's not to everybody's taste because it is extremely sparse. So there is no flowery words and sentences in here. No, it's very compact and not dense, but very compact. Often a chapter is only this long. So yeah, it's not for everybody who likes. It's not for the people who like really long chapters. But I love it. It's about a woman who, wants to be in the world of horses, and she talks about how life is as a trainer of horses and how cruel it can be, how rough it is, how macho it is. It is a gem. This book is a gem, and the less she said, the more I liked it, and the more she told us. So yeah, I highly recommend this book. This is so clever and so well done, and it's the way people talk that are more in farms and work in farms, and they tell a lot with as little as possible use of words. So I really enjoyed it. Then I also read The Country Will Bring Us No Peace by Mattieu Simard. This was originally published in French Canadian. Ici Ailleurs. Ici Ailleurs was the original title. This is the story about a young couple that lost a child, and they think by moving to a remote area things will get better. and when you're surrounded with nature, that things will help them to get over their child's death. And it's very bleak and it's very sad, but it's beautiful. And it's not for, if you are depressed, don't read this book. Don't. And then this one I really loved. It is Impossible by Erri de Luca. This is the story of a man who is questioned at the police station. So he must be in his 70s. This is an Italian book. So he must be in his 70s. And it starts with a questioning. So he was walking in the mountains and a man in front of him fell. But turns out that that man in front of him was somebody he knew in a negative way. And they start digging in their past. And apparently the man who is being interviewed was a member of, I think, the Communist Party and maybe also Brigade Rosso. So that means that he was an active member of a terrorist group, and that he was snitched by the man who fell. And it's a cat and mouse game about what is the truth and not, and if it was a coincidence or not, or if it was just revenge after 30 years, because this man was interviewed and interrogated had been in jail for a very long time. So it's a magnificent book with a lot of dialogue and just very little. It's also very sparse, but also very interesting and very revealing without telling too much. And I absolutely loved this book and I highly recommend it. It is a wonderful, wonderful book. And then I saw that there's a new book out in Dutch. I will show it to you. Maybe it will come out in English, I don't know. It's by Roberto Saviano. Roberto Saviano also wrote in his time Gomorrah about the Italian mafia. And if you think of Italian mafia, the 80s and the 90s, you also think of Judge Falcone. Judge Falcone was a man who really dared to stand up to the mafia and to the politics that were linked with the mafia. They had connections everywhere, also in the upper echelons of the police force. And Falcone, this man, Falcone, dared to take them on. Of course, Falcone died because of this cause. He was blown up in the middle of the day. He was crossing with a convoy. He was crossing a bridge in Palermo, I think, and his car was blown up, and the whole bridge and everything around it. It was like, they really, 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 really wanted them dead, and they wanted to show it. And luckily, this was, in a way, more or less the downfall of the mafia violence in Sicily, and a lot of people, more the normal people who weren't in the Comorra and Nandretti, or how you call it, they were fed up with the violence of the mafia. So his death helped the people to at least be less confronted with the dealings of the mafia. No more street shootings and killings and bombs and stuff like that in the streets. So yeah, really interesting. This is his this is his biography, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. I have a admiration for this man. Maybe I won't after reading this, but still he dared to stick his neck out, and yeah, brave. And it's called The Loneliness of being brave. Yeah. But there you go, that's it. This is my Sunday coffee clutch. And yeah, that was quite a bit. Thank you for watching. Tell me what you're reading. If you have any tips for me, drop them in the comments below. And what are you reading, and how was your week? And let me know. Talk to you later. Bye bye.